And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coast to Coast podcast, episode 9, Bills Rush to Capital. I am your co host, Beyond 716, live from California on one coast. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend on the East Coast, Whittle 2K from New Jersey. We are here tonight. And if you are listening to us on Twitter or YouTube, we always like and subscribe to our podcast on Twitter, Coast to Coast Podcast NJ. We love those notifications. So we really appreciate you all coming on here, especially in the chat and listening. Whittle, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. We're doing much better than last week at this time.
Absolutely, man. It's a lot. The sun shines a little brighter. The air smells a little sweeter, and just your week has a better feel to it, coming off of a win than coming off of a loss. So, very very happy that the Buffalo Bills were able to uh, beat the Las Vegas Raiders by the score of 38-10. Um, it was something that I feel like we need to have happen. And they went out there and number one, they got the win, but the manner that they got the win was kind of settling. Like it was something that was like, okay, we can relax a little bit. This team really is that good. So it was nice to see a dominant performance from the hometown boys, especially in the hometown opener. That was huge. That was huge.
Absolutely. It was like a collective sigh of relief, right? Whittle, it was, after the Monday night game and, the emotions with that. And just to see a complete team performance, too, right? Up and down. It wasn't as great as Josh Allen was. I feel like there were so many positives from this game, and we're going to get into that as we go on here in our rundown of the 38-10. Let's just call it what it is, a beatdown of the Raiders last week, which, again, this is a Raider team. We talked about it last week with our special guest on. They don't lose a lot of games by a lot of points. They play a lot of teams tough. So I know people may look at the Raiders and say, it's just the Raiders, but it's not easy to beat any team in the NFL by over 20. It really is not. So it's something that we should definitely take as like we got our swagger back, so to speak. And then that's what I took most from it.
Yeah, it was a big game, man. I mean, yeah, it's the Raiders, and they're not expected to do well this year, but they're not void of talent. But I think that game was more about what we needed to do versus what the uh the Raiders were doing. Josh was stellar, no turnovers. What do you have? Two touchdowns or three touchdowns? I
Two
know he threw the
touchdowns.
one to Knox. Okay, two touchdowns. Do the one to
Oh,
Knox.
sorry, 3 touchdowns. I apologize. Little three
Right.
touchdowns.
Knox, the one to Knox, the one to Shakir, and the one to Gabe Davis. So he had three touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Harris rushed for a touchdown. I think Harris got one on the ground. So yeah, it was big, but Josh having no turnovers after having the 4 turnover game against the Jets to come back the way he did, man, and throw the ball the way he did, make the decisions that he made. He actually did throw one interception. It was a tip ball. Uh, but because it was like illegal hands to the face or something like that on the defense, it was called back. And you know, it's like it never happened, right?
Exactly.
Josh
I mean, and
Josh
then
made some
31 to
incredible
37.
tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Josh made some incredible game, man. Um, we all, the arm strength, the athleticism, the competitive fire that he has, but just the way that he was just kind of able to just have command of the offense, kind of take what the defense gave him, and then pick his spots where he needed to be great. And where he needed to be great, you know, rolling out right touchdown to Gabe Davis, throwing across his body. He hit Gabe for like a 48-yard touchdown, not a touchdown, but a 48-yard big gain, threw it over the top of the coverage. It was a broken play that they just kind of made whole into a big chunk play, man. That was beautiful. And then just an absolute ridiculous throw to Khalil Shakir for a touchdown. I mean, the guy is navigating the pocket, the pocket's collapsing around him. He looks like he's going to escape. Gets ready to run into the defensive tackle. Run into the arms of the defensive tackle. Just kind of stops, side arms the throw. Right, it was perfect accuracy. Khalil Shakir catches it. Turns upfield, gets into the end zone, touchdown Buffalo, and I mean that was it, man. It was a route from that point on. What did you think of Josh, man, in that game?
Well, we've heard a lot about the turnovers, right? We've talked about it all the time, right? And can Josh adjust to a lot more cover two shell we're seeing so far? And even Josh alluded to it today in his press conference. And listen, I even the big takeaway I also had from yesterday, I mean Sunday Whittle, was I thought a little bit more about Monday night, and Josh was also 29 to 41 in that game, right? It was the mistakes, it was the Jets' pressure that led to a couple of those turnovers, and of course the fumble, which is something we've talked about a lot, that we want to see him get a better grip on. And some of that's just Josh being Josh. He wants to make a big play, and sometimes he's going to turn the ball over. But I just love to see Josh saying, you know what, hey, I got this golden arm, but I'm going to take what they give me, and look at the numbers. And what I would keep reinforcing to Josh is you keep taking what they're going to give you. Those big plays will open up eventually as the game goes on, right? Because the other defense is going to adjust after that and say, hey, we can't stop Josh on these check downs and quick throws. Then maybe something deep over the top to Davis or Diggs opens up. So and like Pat said, a 77% completion. I mean, first two games. I mean, who says Josh is not accurate, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm tired of that narrative too. I mean, if I ever hear that narrative again, I'm just going to check out because it's really not true. It's there's a lot of reasons why his completion percentage is lower than others, weather reasons, play call reasons, etc. But I was very impressed overall with the offense and especially the running game.
Get okay. You were saying something about the running game.
Yeah, so we could definitely pivot into that, which I thought was a great strength. So, what did you think overall of our new quote three-headed monster, so to speak, led by James Cook?
I was impressed. I was I knew James Cook was. I don't. I mean, we knew James Cook was good. We knew what to expect from Latavius Murray, and what Damian Harris has done um, since he's been in the league. But the thing that was crazy to me about like James Cook was his yards after contact were amazing. I just thought that like there were a couple of plays where he runs into a crowd and you think, all right, this is a 2 yard gain, and for some reason the guy's coming out on the other side for 6 or 7 yards, or you think the defense has him dead to rights, and he turns up the field, turns on the speed burst, and he's up the field for a first down. I mean, I was so impressed with his vision. I was so impressed with um just with his contact balance. It was amazing. Like he was so good. He was just so good. But yeah, it was I would like to see more. I'd like to see a little more. I'd like to see a little more Harris
Mm-hmm.
versus Murray. I like Murray. Don't get me wrong. Murray, I think is an excellent change of pace and passing
Mm-hmm.
downs. He's an excellent pass protector. But when if we're running the football and we're not inside the five, give me a little more Harris, please.
I
I
agree.
think he got. Yeah, you saw the big punt return. I mean, the big kickoff return that he had in the
Mm-hmm.
second half. That was huge. That really got us going as well. Um, he's got an excellent blend of power, speed, and explosiveness. So I would love to see
Yep.
all of those things utilized on the offensive side of the football. But I want to give some credit to someone who I have criticized a lot over the last season and off season. It's actually two people. I have to give credit. 2 weeks in a row, I thought Ken Dorsey did an excellent job. And I mean, this is kind of not what we wanted to talk about today, but I have to give the flowers where they do. Ken Dorsey called an excellent game. Um, I thought that he added in a bunch of under center plays for Josh Allen where we're either utilizing play action, and that ball fake from under center from Josh is excellent. He's very, very good at it. We need to use it more. And then we ran the football from under center as well. We ran for power. We ran for, there was a little bit of pin and pull. And I just got to give him credit. It was he called a great game. I got to give him credit for it. He definitely called a great game. I think that Dorsey and I said this. I don't know if you remember, but I said this before about I think that Dorsey's finally figuring out how to call a game based on the personnel that we have, not based on what he wants to see the offense do. I think that's a big difference. And I think it shows the level of growth that we needed to see from year one OC Dorsey to year two OC Dorsey. And then, I got to give credit to the big man. That's right, Coach. Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown was going up against the stud defensive end, Max Crosby. They call him Mad Max. And, by no means did Spencer Brown dominate that matchup, but I thought Spencer Brown held his own. I thought Spencer Brown was solid. I thought he was very smart with the way he played against Max Crosby. Now, they did do some things to help him out. They sent Knox over there to help out a couple of times. Harris went in there and lined up, in an empty set to the right of Spencer Brown and got a little chip block in there to keep Max Crosby from turning upfield. So they definitely helped Spencer Brown out. But when he had to go one-on-one, if he tried to beat him inside, Spencer Brown, leveraged that right guard and pushed Crosby into his own man. And, it was an excellent job when Max Crosby tried to turn upfield and use the speed rush. He just followed him right up the field and held him and did not allow him to counter and come back and get Josh from behind. Josh was able to escape and make plays with his legs and make plays with his arm, on the run off platform, which is something that he's great at. I thought Spencer Brown had a great game. I thought the offensive line in general played very, very well. But again, it's the Raiders. We were expected to win that game, and we did exactly what we needed to do. What do you like based on what you saw from the O-line? What did you take away from the game?
We talked about this a lot in the offseason and all our spaces and all of our conversations, right? We're not expecting Spencer Brown to be a Pro Bowl right tackle, right? But all we need is solid and stable, right? And that is an absolute upgrade for the Bills at right tackle, and it's pretty significant, right? That's how bad, unfortunately, Spencer Brown was last year. You can call it what it was. Obviously a back problem was a big issue you have to deal with all season, right? So if we just continue to get solid Spencer, right, all season, it's just going to do wonders for it. And, let's give another shout out to our rookie, Torrance. I mean, O'Cyrus Torrance was very solid in this game yet again. And, he's even doing better than I thought he would in his first two games, right? First two games in the league, you're trying to get acclimated. I think he's been excellent. And let's give some props to Aaron Cromer. I mean, Aaron Cromer, year two, he's had more time with some of these offensive linemen. I think it's starting to show across the board, right? And I love what you said about Ken Dorsey. We forget, we talk about players, right? In their rookie year, second year, third year, they could take those leaps, right? We forget that coaches can too, right? Some coaches don't, some coaches do, just like players, right? And sometimes the good ones, like you said, Dorsey is learning that, hey, I have my system, but I have to use the players I have against certain teams each week and adjust like that. So we're seeing an evolution of Ken Dorsey. Let's hope that continues going forward into 2023.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Another thing, and we're dragging this out a bit, but listen, man, we got to give the flowers to the team, and the boys showed up and they played well. Another another something that we were also a little worried about was, how was the defense going to look this year with with brand new middle linebacker Terrell Bernard, and there were some questions of whether Dotson was going to be there. We drafted Dorian Williams, so it was a competition that Terrell Bernard actually won by not being there, which is crazy. He won the job because everybody else played so poorly. But man, like this guy, he looks he looks good. I was skeptical. I was very skeptical. First off, I was a little nervous about Sean McDermott calling the plays without stud middle linebacker like Tremaine Edmonds. I still think he's a stud. We wish you well over there in that cesspool called Chicago now, but that's something we could talk about on a different episode. But yeah, like Terrell Bernard plays so well, man. He had the interception. I was talking with Kevin Masiri. Well, we were in the space. I don't know if you were in the space earlier on Twitter with Kevin Masiri. We were discussing Terrell Bernard from an analytical standpoint. Kevin Masiri from Cover One. And he was saying that his average depth of tackle was like 0.9 yards or something like that, or 0.8 yards or something crazy like that, which means that this guy is hitting people in the hole. He is attacking the ball carrier, and that's something that Tremaine Edmonds did not really do. He got a ton of tackles, but they were always outside the hole after the guy gotten 3 or 4 yards. Bernard was amazing. And oh, by the way, tip ball in the air from, I want to say Rousseau tipped it. Bernard makes the catch. How many times have we seen Tremaine Edmonds drop plays like that? I was so happy, man. I was so happy. Matt Milano with another interception. That's 2 weeks in a row. You got to go and watch the interception. Like if you're out there and you did not watch the game, and you don't know what we're talking about, Matt Milano's interception was, I mean, this guy's putting in his bid for defensive player of the year, because that was a great interception. I mean, that was a great interception, man. That might be one of the top 10 plays of the year. He goes over the back of of Josh Jacobs without committing a penalty, and intercepts the check down, which is like I've never seen a play like that before.
Same here. Well, that's what elite players do. That's an elite player play right there.
Absolutely. But our D-line showed up to play. So, Beyond, man, talk to me about this defensive line, because I thought they got after it.
Well, he was signed obviously in the offseason to the contract, and it was a risk, right? We all acknowledged it, right? That it was a risky move by Beane, but so far it's really paying off. If we could get this at Oliver the rest of the season, I mean, what dividends it's going to pay, for our defensive line. Yeah, I know people say, "Oh, the Bills don't have that many sacks," but the Raiders also only ran 39 plays last week, so we had less opportunities to get sacks. So.
All right, looks like we lost Beyond for a second. He'll be back in a few seconds, but yeah, that defensive line was amazing. Leonard Floyd again applying pressure from the edge. Gregory Rousseau is definitely coming into his own. He too applied a ton of pressure from the edge. They were very good against the run. I think one of the first running plays that the Raiders had, Ed Oliver just picks up his man and drives him, 4 yards into the backfield, into Josh Jacobs' lap, and breaks up the play for a huge loss. Just the line is just playing well. I mean, right now, Von's not even back yet. Like when Von gets back, we're really going to be a problem. Right now we're a problem, but not necessarily the level of problem that I think we're going to be when Vaughn gets back. Like when Vaughn gets back, it's really going to be an issue, and we got beyond that.
Okay, my apologies there. So
No
when
problem, man. So I was just talking about how the D line came to play, and Oliver with
Mhm.
the huge tackle for loss. Uh, just to kind of sum up what how dominant that defensive line was. We held the defending NFL rushing leader to -2 yards rushing in an entire game. That's impressive. Josh Jacobs is like that. He's one of them ones. But he couldn't find anything against Buffalo this weekend. So, you gotta give a huge shout out to the defensive line and to those linebackers, man. They bottled everything up, man. To the point where like the defense gave up an opening drive for a touchdown, and then they gave up like a field goal later on. I don't know. It might have been the second quarter. They gave up the field goal, and then after that, they never scored it. Like the Raiders never scored again. So shout out to the defense, man. They really came to play. But that was the last game. That was the last Sunday, and we move on this Sunday to the left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. Washington Commanders on Sunday in Washington in their building. Um, and I'm looking forward to our special guest we supposed to have. I'm waiting on him to pop in. But until then, we got the Commanders coming in, man, and some of the big things. There were some big changes for the Commanders this year. New ownership group. Um, Magic Johnson's a part of it. Dan Snyder had been the owner for a long time. There was a lot of nonsense, going back and forth with him, and some emails and some harassment issues and different things like that. It was a lot of stuff that went on with the Commanders and Dan Snyder. He was forced to sell the team. They finally got the deal done. Now the Commander fans can, it's like they're singing. I can see clearly now. Snyder's gone. All the obstacles are no longer in their way. So they're moving forward, and they're moving forward with a really, really good, talented team. Currently, they're 2-0, and that talent is bolstered by a bunch of young guys, man. And at the head of that group, I would have to say would be 5th-round draft pick quarterback out of the University of North Carolina, Sam Howell. Uh, I did a little draft. I did a little draft work on Sam Howell. I like the kid. Like I watched him play in college. I watched what he looked like when he had a bunch of weapons, when he had Javonte Williams and a few other guys that were NFL talent. He had a ton of NFL talent. Sam Howell put up a lot of numbers. Like if he would have left the year before he got drafted, he would have been probably a top 10, top 15 pick. Easily. But he stayed an extra year, dealt with some injuries. A lot of his talent kind of left. It just kind of is what it is. Like you get into those situations and what can you do, right? You got to move on and make it happen the best you can. So his numbers dipped a bit. He has some injury concerns, but overall, like Sam Howell still is an extremely talented kid. They also took running back out of Alabama, Brian Robinson Jr. Big, strong kid. Six. What is he? I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", something like that.
Mhm.
230 pounds. Big, strong kid. Somebody I wanted the Bills to go after, but they never did. And he's down there in DC doing this thing. Got shot before the season. Like he got shot before the season, and he was forced to miss a few games. I think that was last year He had got
Yes.
shot in his car waiting on, I think he was waiting on like food or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it crazy story about that. Where he got shot at, I actually know that location. Like I was stationed down there for a little while with the military. Yeah, I was stationed down there with the military for a little bit. And I had been to some of those same spots. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I had driven past the spot where he got shot a bunch of times. You never think about that when you're down there, but
It always hits harder when you've been there, right? You know what I
right,
mean? It hits you a little
yeah,
harder for sure.
yeah. So I'm like, when I heard about him, I'm like, yo, he got shot. Where he get shot at? Like, oh, he got shot in the was it northeast section of DC? So I'm like, northeast. I know the area. You know, so I'm like, all right, well, where at? And you find out where, and it's like, oh, yo, my favorite breakfast spot is like 3 blocks away from there. In DC. So that was kind of wild, but he made his recovery and came back to have a pretty solid rookie season. And this year the guy, he's putting up numbers, he's doing his thing. I can't front. I can't front on the kid. The kid looks good. He looks real good. Looks good in the
Mhm.
offense. They're using him in passing downs. They're using him, in the screen game. They're using him to punish the defenders. Like I like him a lot, man. I like him a lot. Um, Emmanuel Forbes, and I know I feel like I'm rambling right now, but like I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, Brian, but
I love
my
I
thing.
love the Widow Rambles. You know
The
that.
draft is my thing, man. So Emmanuel
Yes.
Forbes, Mississippi State. This
Uh,
kid led the he led the NCAA last year in interceptions. He is the definition of ball hawk. Not really big. He's got solid size. I mean, he's like 6'1", but then he's like 160 pounds, like 170 pounds. Like he's rail thin, man. But listen, if it's a lazy ball, it's going the other way. If you don't put that zip on it, the guy's gonna take it. Um, I like that pick a lot. They were terrible in creating turnovers last season, so they went out and got a guy that was gonna go ahead and do that. And already, what does he do? His first interception is on future Hall of Famer Russell Wilson. Great catch, diving towards the football, makes the catch, completes the catch through the fall and hitting the ground and things like that, and then gets up and he's so excited he actually fumbles the football, picks it back up, and then takes off for a little bit and gets tackled. But yeah, the kid is, listen, that was a great pickup. Like I love Emmanuel Forbes. I do think he's a tad small as far as like weight wise, but he'll fill out. He'll get a little weight on him. He's not shy about tackling. He will tackle, which was another concern coming into the draft. But I think they have a solid group of young studs that they're building around. Um, and the other big thing in DC right now for the Commanders is that star-studded D line. Brian, when you hear, like, we know what a star-studded D line, or we know what a dominant defensive line looks like because we play one twice a year in the Jets. But when you think about
mhm.
the Commanders, and that front line, that front four that they have of Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Montez Sweat, what comes to mind on your end? What do you think about when you hear those names?
It's you mentioned and you pair that with a guy like Emmanuel Forbes, who you said is a ball hawk, right?
Yep.
And thinking about our first week matchup against the Jets, and we know this is a different defense, right? I mean, this is gonna be an amazing test for this offensive line of ours, right? Now I'm kind of glad we went through week one already because it kind of prepares us a little bit more for this kind of matchup. But I mean, what can you say about this front four? I mean, it's if they pull together, right? Because Chase Young has had some injuries, as we know, right?
Right. Right.
I mean,
What'd you say? Okay. Beyond's having a little difficulty. I don't know, like
is
Pat, you guys,
there
you guys.
rhythm? I mean, we just can't have 3-4 turnovers again. That's how Washington's going to beat us this game, right? I mean, maybe we do get the one off. We get that one Josh throw. We're like, oh, right? You know, we can live with that, but we just can't live with multiple turnovers against this kind of team.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Brian, you there?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. All right. So we're having a little
There we go.
delay. We're having some technical issues right now, but we'll continue to push through it.
Yeah, it could very well be on my end.
Yeah.
Apologize for that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're still in our baby stages. This is only episode. What is this? Episode 9. This is only episode 9. We're still in baby
We're almost
stages.
at our double digits. Yeah.
We're still crawling, guys. We're still crawling. But yeah, so I just want to get this off about this D line. We faced the Jets D line with Quinnen Williams and JFM, John Franklin Myers. You got Carl Lawson there. They got Al Woods. They got a bunch of Quincy. What's his name? Quincy Jefferson.
Yes.
Jermaine Johnson. Will McDonald, Bryce Huff, a ton of names, right? Those guys are amazing. This front four is better than whatever front four the Jets can put out there. The front four. So the front four is better. It's full of first round talent. Montez Sweat, dominant edge rusher, can beat you with speed. Excellent counter moves. Strong, plays the run well. I mean, he's just a solid guy that you add to your line. And I mean, he's not one of those like solid guys that you just say, all right, this is a rotational piece. No, this is a centerpiece on your line. Like if on 31 other teams, this guy would be, well, I don't want to say 31 because there's some dominant edge rushers out there, but the vast majority of the league gets a guy like Montez Sweat and they expect their sack numbers to go up by double digits, right? They're expecting their numbers to go up between 10 to 15 sacks because he's going to get you anywhere from 7 or 8 to 9 to 10. And then because he's there, other guys are going to get an extra sack or two just because of the attention that he garners from the offensive coordinator and the offensive line. Then the two monsters in the middle, man, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Payne's an Alabama guy. I think Allen is as well. I gotta check. I don't want to.
I think they are. I believe that.
I don't want to give y'all false information.
Allen is Alabama, and you are correct, by the way, Walt. Just to confirm.
Yeah. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I wanted to make sure because I know both those. I mean, listen, Alabama, like you know what it is. Oh no, he went to UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. That's not Alabama. I mean, it's Alabama, but not Alabama.
Alabama light, right?
Alabama.
Right.
It's Alabama, but it ain't Alabama. No, it does say, it says he went to Alabama. Jonathan Allen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought he was. I was pretty sure he was on these teams.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yep. So there you go. You Bills fans, you know what we put out. You know what we put out there. You know what Alabama puts out there. We have Marcel Darius. So you know what type of you know what type of situation we're getting when you talk about an Alabama defensive line. And then on the other side, you got Chase Young. Chase Young stand out from Ohio State. I mean, he looks the part. He's built like a prototypical defensive end. He's had some injury concerns, but there's never been a doubt of the talent. There's never been a doubt when it comes to the talent level. The guy is extremely talented. That is the calling card of this defense. They are trying to bolster that front four with a secondary of Emmanuel Forbes, Kendall Fuller, another very, very good young corner that they have. And I want to say Cam Curl is the now it looks like I'm having issues. Jesus, man. What's going on? I guess they don't want us to do the episode today.
Do you have? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's a crazy day out there. It's been a crazy week.
Yeah, it's all good though. We'll figure this out, man. We'll get this together. Yeah, no, they got some guys back there, man. That you know, I got to be honest. They got some studs, man. They got some studs. They got some real players. So you know, what they want to do is they want to get to the quarterback with 4. They want to drop 7, and they want to make sure that you know if you put the ball in the air against the secondary, that they got guys back there that can take it away. So you know that's where they are defensively. Some of the other moves that I was very, very happy to see them go after and get. They signed former Buffalo Bill Jamison Crowder. I thought that was an excellent move as the wide receiver. He can come in and help those younger guys. Acclimate themselves to the NFL. Jake Fromm is another guy that used to play for the Buffalo Bills, backup quarterback. Whatever. And in addition to Brian Robinson, Brian Robinson 6'1", 228, and then they have their feature back out of Memphis is Antonio Gibson, 6'2", 220, another big solid back, tough to bring down. And then they drafted a rookie who I was very, very, very high on out of Kentucky, Christian Rodriguez Jr. Listen, I thought that he was the perfect complement to James Cook. Christian Rodriguez, he's not going to play a lot. He's really not going to play a lot because of the 2 guys in front of him. But I imagine that Antonio Gibson's going to have to get paid pretty soon, and they're probably going to just let him walk because you got Brian Robinson, you're adding Christian Rodriguez. They're kind of the same backs. I think Antonio Gibson's got a little more burst, a little more speed, a little more power, a little more punch. But Christian Rodriguez, he's got some of that too. He doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the long speed that I think Antonio Gibson has, but for sure, Chris Rodriguez Jr. He's like a bowling ball, man. Very tough to bring down. Solid receiver out the backfield, can pass a lot. Very, very, very underrated pickup. They picked him up like late in the draft as well. But yeah, like very, very, very good. Very, 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 very good. So the linebacker.
My memory says Greg Gibson. What's that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Real quick on Gibson. He's good I feel like, isn't he good with the screen passes in the passing game too? That's something we gotta really be cognizant of on Sunday. That's something I'm concerned about a little bit that we really have to. I feel like we don't. Sometimes we get burned by that, so we really have to be mindful of Gibson in those situations.
Absolutely. Some of the key matchups, some of the key things that we got to look at when we're talking about the Bills, when we're talking about the game against the Commanders this weekend, is how we match up with them, right? Listen, when it comes to the quarterback versus quarterback, I think we have a decided significant edge. No need to get into great discussion about that. Josh Allen is him, top 3, and he ain't 3. Let's talk about it. Top 3, and he ain't 3. Let's talk about that. Okay. Josh Allen is him. Um, I think we definitely have the advantage there. I like our running back room. Their running back room works for them. I think it's kind of, whatever. But they got a few receivers, man. They got a few receivers that you gotta look that you gotta pay attention to. Jahan Dotson out of Penn State, Terry McLaurin, aka Scary Terry, out of Ohio State. You know what Ohio State does. What type of talent they put out there. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba, et cetera, et cetera. The Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming out pretty soon as well. Like, it is what it is. Like, that's wide receiver U right now. And in addition to that, you got a guy, Curtis Samuel, another wide receiver from out of Ohio State. Very, very good third option. They just got a bunch of route runners, man. Like, these are guys that can route you up. So, Sean McDermott, let's chill on the man coverage this week, okay? Because I don't know how much it's going to work, but I think we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention to those guys. Those guys are fast. They're aggressive at the catch point, and they're very, very good. They're underrated, but that's a very, very good wide receiver group. Possibly a top 5 to 7, top 7 wide receiver group in the NFL. They're very, very, very good. Very good. And then in addition to that, what you got?
You know what else they got? They got a 2-time Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator now in Eric Bieniemy to scheme it all together, right? Which is, maybe that's something they've really been missing in Washington with, that's why I think Sam Howell's in such a good situation. Like you said, just such an underrated wide receiver room. So that it's, that's good. And Eric Bieniemy's very familiar with us. So
yeah, I was going to say let's drill down on that a little bit. You bring up Eric Bieniemy, and that's excellent. I think that's a huge plus for them, because so far this season, from what I've watched, he's been putting Sam Howell in positions where Sam Howell can be successful. They're 2-0, and they're 2-0 for a reason. Came back from a 21-3 deficit in order to win that this past weekend's game against the Broncos. But where do you see the advantage? Do you see the advantage with Bieniemy as the play caller, or do you see it with Sean McDermott as the defensive play caller? Because those two are going to be going at it.
I think it's kind of a wash a little bit, maybe a little bit edge to Sean, just based on the talent we have and just how our experience, right? This game for Washington reminds me a little bit of when we played New England in 2019. Was it 2019? Wasn't the game that Josh got hurt where he got hit in the back? Remember, it was like a statement. We were at home and we got off to a good start. And this was like our benchmark game, right? It was, have the Bills arrived, right? The Commanders are kind of in that role right now. They're trying to assert themselves. We have asserted ourselves, right? We're one of the top teams in the NFL. So, but I think that advantage I think it's pretty close, right? I think there's a lot of familiarity on both sides. I'm not worried about Bieniemy having any advantage mentally over us. I mean, we've beaten that team a couple times when he was in Kansas City. It's not like we can't at least contain him. So, and again, nobody's getting Patrick Mahomes mistaken with Sam Howell anytime soon. No offense, Sam.
Well, I'm actually gonna disagree with you there. I think that the advantage goes to Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott's had the pleasure of being the head. He's had the ability to be the head coach, and the pleasure to sit back and watch as Eric Bieniemy has gone up against Leslie Frazier, at that OC versus DC battle. So we played them a ton. We played the Chiefs a ton while Bieniemy was there and while McDermott was the head coach here. So McDermott's got an eye for his tendencies and what he likes to do. I think when it comes to a preparation, from a preparation standpoint, I think we got to give Sean McDermott the slight edge, because he's got a lot more to work with a lot more to study a lot more material to study from what we've seen the enemy do versus what McDermott's going to do with this defense currently. And it's week 3. It's not like he's got a ton of tape from this season either. Like, and maybe if this was a week 13 game, it'd be different, but got a ton of tape. It's not a ton of tape that he can pay attention to. So, what do you think? What do you think the key thing for the Bills? What do the Bills need to do in order to win this game?
I think it's kind of keep building off the success we're starting to see in the running game. I mean, we talk a lot about Josh Allen, right? We know what Josh Allen's going to eat. We know this, right? Diggs is going to eat. We're going to get ours there. But I was looking at Washington this year. They've 48 attempts against them, 218 yards, 4.5 yards a carry. I mean, nothing special out of the ordinary. I mean, they faced Denver and Arizona. They don't have dynamic running backs per se, right? Guys that really jump off the charts or offensive lines that really jump off the charts. So I think we should be able to at least be successful on the ground. So, I mean, maybe we're not going to see the numbers we saw against the Raiders, but can you give me Cook like 14 carries, 70 yards, right? And maybe sprinkle in some Damian Harris, like you said, maybe some 7 to 10 carries from him, or maybe a few carries from Latavius Murray with some success, right? So that's what I feel like that will just open everything up for our offense. We just don't want to become one dimensional where that front four could just sit back, right? And not sit back, but they can come right after Josh, try and maybe create some mistakes like we saw a little bit on Monday night against the Jets.
I agree, man. Not only that, but I think this is a week that Sean McDermott needs to speed up the clock of Sam Howell. I watched Sam Howell against the Cardinals. I watched him against the Broncos, and in both first halves, he didn't look great. And the thing about those first halves was he was getting hit a lot. He was getting pressured. They were winning. They were winning up front. I mean, his the defensive lines were winning up front, and they were getting to him. They were getting him on the ground. They were hitting him. They were rushing. They were pressuring him, and he did not look good in either first half. That's something that we have to do for 60 minutes. For 4 quarters, we have to get after him. As good as their defensive line is, they're tied. I think they're tied for second in sacks this season so far after 2 games. But they've also given up 10 sacks. That offensive line in Washington has given up 10 sacks so far this year. So we got to get Sam Howell on the ground for sure. The other key for the Bills, especially defensively, defend the screen pass, man. Like, be prepared for them to throw smoke and mirrors at you. The enemy does an excellent job of scheming up screen passes to get your front 7 upfield, and then throw the screen pass right behind them, and the guy takes off upfield with a bunch of road graders in front of him dealing with corners and safeties. So our linebackers really have to play smart this week. And for the Commanders, they got to get turnovers, man. They got to get extra possessions. They gotta protect Sam Howell, and they have to remain balanced. Even if you can't see a ton of success with the running game, you still got to use it. You still got to keep this Bills defense honest, because if you sit back and allow this Bills defense to just pin their ear back, and go after you, they are going to do that, and it's going to be a long, long, long day for the Commanders. Who are your players to watch from the Buffalo Bills this weekend?
Wow. There's a few. I would say. I think Terrell Bernard, if as long as he's healthy, like you said, I think the linebacker play is very important this week. I mean, I want to see him continue to build off his solid performance last week. So we know what Milano is. So I think he's very key. I would say, and again, back to Spencer Brown. We need him this week. This is a critical week with this kind of front four. We just need solid Spence, like we talked about. We're not going to get all pro, all time Spencer Brown, right? We know he may get beat here or there, but overall, we just need a consistent performance. out of Spencer Brown. So those are my two real big keys. I expect everybody else to play pretty much to the back of their cards, so to speak. But
Right.
those are my two guys I'm really kind of focused on. I feel like, I mean, the offensive line in general. Even Deion Dawkins had a solid game last week. He's got to keep building on that too. So we want to see that as well this week. How about you, Winnell?
Ooh, players to watch, man. It's got to be those safeties, bro. I think the safeties. I think Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are going to be key this game. There are some like when you're dealing with a young quarterback, if you can disguise your blitz or disguise the pressure from where it's coming, you're going to confuse him. And if you're paying attention to the film correctly, you're going to know the tendencies of where he likes to go with the football when he's pressured. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are veterans. They're all pros. Those guys will know. They got to know where to be. They got to be paying attention to the film this week. They got to know where to be because I think that if you get Sam Howell, if you get him moving and you get him uncomfortable in the pocket, he's going to give you at least one. And if we can get one or two turnovers and turn those into points, this game could be over by halftime. I don't. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we're gonna blow them out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this Bills team is very very dangerous when they get up. If they get up a couple scores, man, the points come in bunches after that. It's not. They don't take their foot off the gas until 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, man. So let's get into it. Score predictions. Score predictions. What do you got? Bills, Commanders, on the road. What do you got?
I expect, again, just I'll give you a whole quick synopsis of how the game's going to feel. Right. We're going to see a Washington crowd electric like we haven't seen in quite some time. New owner, right? Thank goodness for that. We can all agree there. I think their fans have suffered with Dan Snyder. 1 year was too much for that guy, right? So now you have new ownership. They're 2-0. You got a new quarterback in Sam Howell. You got Eric Bieniemy there as the coordinator. There's a real buzz there. Ron Rivera is a solid coach too, right? So I expect Washington to get off to a pretty solid start in this game. I wouldn't
Right.
be surprised this game's even 14-14, like second quarter, halftime. We're sitting there like, all right, but I feel like it's going to be one of those games where Washington is in it, but I think we pull away late and we win 31-20. That kind of game, you know what I mean? Where we never truly feel absolutely threatened like we did Monday night against the Jets. You and I were both there for that, so we know, right?
Right.
I think we'll be fairly in control. Washington will put up a good fight. But as long as Josh limits the turnover to one or less, right, we stay within ourselves and run the ball relatively well, which I think we can. I think the Bills win 31-20.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna go with 37 to 16, 37-13. I have a feeling that the Buffalo Bills are gonna come out and we got a couple more score predictions. I'm throwing them up in the jumbo. The jumbo. Oh, Jesus, what am I talking about? I'm throwing them up on the screen.
That's okay.
Yeah, my mind is still on Twitter, bro. So I'm going with 37-13. I think the Buffalo Bills this weekend, I think they're going to dial up some really really nasty blitzes from zone, like some zone blitzes. I think they're going to attack this offensive line and attack him and attack Sam Howell. I think that this defense is. I think this deep. I don't think it's a fluke that we held Josh Jacobs to -2 yards. If you remember the Jets game, there were two big runs for over almost 100 for 109 yards that came from This guy missing tackles, right? So
Mhm. Yes.
I just think that they don't have a guy as explosive. They don't have a Brees Hall. They don't have an explosive guy like that. This is not Bijan. This is not Saquon. This is not Brees, and it's not Dalvin. I think that we're gonna have some success with stopping their running game, and I think that once we do that, we make them one dimensional. Now, at that point, it's going to be about confusing the young quarterback. This is Sam Howell's fourth professional start in his career. Fourth. McDermott, do your thing. Like you need to put this kid in a blender. We need to get a couple of turnovers, and we need to put this game away by halftime. I need this. I need the score to be 21-3, 24-3, 17-7, 21-7, 27-10, something like that by halftime. That's what I need. We do that, game's over. If we let
I
this
know what
team
you
hang
need.
around, if we let this team hang around, they are very resilient, and Eric Bieniemy is not going to allow them to quit. If we let them hang around, they could come back and make this a game, potentially even beat us. So we got to jump on them early. We got to get them off the field, and we got to get our offense back on the field and hit that hit that scoreboard up early and often. Take the fight out the crowd, take the fight out of them, and get out of there and get ready for Miami, man. Um,
Mhm.
with that
One
being
little factor
said,
to keep.
okay,
Sorry,
go ahead.
one little quick thing to keep an eye on is the old weather report. They're saying 80% chance of rain on Saturday, maybe 50% on Sunday, but it looks like it might be early in the morning. I was just looking at it earlier for Landover, Maryland. So hopefully we don't get a wet field, especially on the grass, which could actually play in Washington's favor, believe it or
Oh,
not. But
absolutely.
so that's something that I hope is not a factor, but it's something to keep an eye on this weekend.
Absolutely. I hope for better weather. If not, it's not like we don't have Murray and Harris. Like, let's utilize those guys. It's not like we don't have a couple of tight ends that should be able to get open and win some physical matchup. So I think we should still be able to control. I think we should still be able to put points on the board, but it will make things a little difficult, much more difficult than it would be with clear weather. This is the part of the show, Brian, where have the guest we have the guest plug their stuff, and it's just us, man. We got stood up today, man. Shout out to the
It's all
command.
good. It happens.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat: Tommy, Pat, Coach, Johnny, Caves Fishing, I believe. So it's great to see you all. We love your interactions in there. So definitely keep that coming. And we really, really appreciate it.
So since we don't really have anybody here to plug anything, I mean, you see what's underneath. You see this blue bubble on each one of our screens. Um, that's where you can find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter there. You can find me on Instagram. I don't really do too much on Instagram. That's going to change soon. Uh, and you can find us. You can find this show every Wednesday at from 9 to 10 p.m. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. Don't hold us to the 10 p.m. part, but you can hold us to the 9 Eastern time. Yeah, we have a Facebook page for the podcast as well. You can catch us on that as well. You can catch it. I appreciate you if you catch it live. If you don't catch it live and you catch it on the playback or the next day or whatever, listen, we're grateful that you just decided to take an hour out of your day and spend it listening to us ramble on about football. Um, and with that, you got anything, Brian? You got anything for the people?
Now, just let's get ready for next week. And next week's going to be a special show. First of all, it's episode 10, so we're hitting double digits,
Yes,
which
sir.
is great. But it's going to be Miami week, so we're going to get the troops rolling. We're going to get everybody riled up. So the showdown is on. So
Squish the
I
fish.
I anticipate a show over an hour next week because we're gonna have a lot to talk about before that showdown with the fish. So
we've got some really good connections with the Dolphin fan base. So there's gonna be no problem getting a couple of guys up here from that side to talk Fins with us. Yeah, man. Great job, man. Like I thought this was kind of smooth outside of the
it's the spectrum
Wi-Fi
going
issues.
crazy on me here in California. Yeah.
Aside from the Wi-Fi issues, man, we still working. We're work in progress. But listen, like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you definitely like the video. Like that goes a long way. However these algorithms work, they work off like. So give us a like, man, so we can keep this thing going and growing. And yeah, man, thank you guys for pulling up on us. And this weekend, hopefully next week we'll feel as good as this week because we'll be coming off another W. If not, man, if we lose this game, man, is Miami a must win?
Yes, and I'm just going to leave you with this one stat. Whittle, we talked about this last year. Okay, I did some research from last year. There were 46 teams that made the Super Bowl this century, right, from 2000 to 2023. If you are 2-2, only 6 teams went to the Super Bowl of those 46.
Wow.
1-3, only 1 team went to the Super Bowl. So 7 out of 46 teams were 2-2 or 1-3. The others were all 3-1 or 4-0. So we do talk a lot about, yes, it's early. I think it's early from the point of getting everybody on rhythm and developing your true, right? Like, we see the Bills evolve over the season. We're going to get Vaughn back. We're going to get other players back. But I think it's very, very important to stack these wins early because we know our schedule, first of all, is getting tougher in the second half. We unfortunately know injuries are going to become a factor. It's inevitable. This is football. It's a rough sport, right? So, I think it's very important. We talked about this too, about the Baltimore game last year. I feel a little bit like this week. I feel like these next 2 games are a must, and I think we're going to get them. But we'll get to next week.
Man, that's why this works, man, because we're on the same page. I too feel like we're going to get the next 2 games as well. I feel like we should have got the first one, but that's. Yeah, I'll digress.
We got to let that be, but we'll have to deal with that later this season.
Bitter pill to swallow, man. That's the only thing the Jet fans got going for them right now. We beat the Bills week 1. Whatever. All right, man. Again, thank you guys for all showing up, man. I appreciate everybody that participated in the chat. If you caught it live, thank you for checking us out. If you catch it on another day, I thank you for taking the time again. Like and subscribe, and we will bring you another episode of Coast to Coast next week at 9 p.m. Featuring some Dolphin fans, and that will be interesting. All right, everybody, peace out. Go Bills.
Have a great week. Go Bills.